And now for something completely different.
It's just how broad our minds are, and for me, that's all I basically try and communicate. That there is effectiveness in a lot of ranges in your life that you can actually execute. It's not that specialization that you are constantly thinking about, because society has conditioned us in such a way. In fact, religion has also greatly helped to condition us in such a way by giving us purposes, roles, and sort of strict things to subscribe to pin us down. So you're either labeled as a sinner or a child of God, but you are more than any of those things, because life in itself and the way that you experience it, you don't experience it from the God perspective. You rarely experience it from the God perspective. Everything that you do is very, very ordinary. You are present in everything that you do. So to think that then really matters to a degree, for me, is to make a point that it really does not. That you are not just one thing. You can be many things, and that's what you can enjoy about life. That specific range, but it only comes out of freedom of thinking and believing more in yourself, because you are the only one that observes this world. Everybody exists because of you. If you did not exist, what would have existed? Nothing. And I'm talking to you specifically. That if you died, as we have said before, that would be the end of the universe, because you are the only observer. Okay. So if you are the only observer, somehow you must be the head nigger in charge. Somehow it must be the head nigger in charge. That's why things happen to you. They don't happen to other people. They happen to you.
It's the ones you can experience.
Exactly. So everything happens to you. Even when something happens to someone, you hear about it. So it means it has happened to you because it has still come across in your in your world. If you didn't hear about it, then it, by all intents and purposes, did not happen according to you.
You speak of purpose. Mm-hmm. I found a list of interesting questions that I thought we should tailor today's episode around.
Water is nice.
Water is great.
Yeah, let's go.
Do you think human beings need some agency over the world around them for their lives to have sense or purpose? That's when you brought up purpose. I was like, this is a great place, because I was trying to find a way to steer us. Do you think we need to connect these dots the way we have been connecting them to have meaning, to tie us down to something?
Tying us down to something is an action that we carry out of fear of universe.
Out of the fear of random.
Yes, universe suggests that there's a lot. Universe suggests that it's quite big. So if you live in such an uncertain world, it means you can die any minute. And it's the way we do die, any minute.
I mean, regardless of our fears and all these little rules we've created, right? The reality of things is that thing we're afraid of is still happening. Like, regardless of what we're doing, whether you believe in Jesus, whether what, that thing you're scared of is on its way to you and is barreling like a steam train.
So when you realize that you exist in a very big world where you are almost insignificant, for you to be able to continue to exist, you have to vibrate at an even higher frequency to generate enough energy to create a reality around you that you are more familiar with.
Create a reaction.
Hold on. to create a reality that you are more familiar with. Because the general reality of the universe is that anything is possible. The general, reality of the universe is that it's way too big and there's so much in it that we therefore do not understand. That itself we do not understand. So the best way to go about existing in such a big reality is to ensure that you begin to understand your immediate environment and begin to expand your immediate environment to eventually envelope the universe in itself so that you can exist in peace in totality, or comfortably so in totality by knowing. Now,
don't you think that's how niggas made God?
Let me take
a big thing. Nobody does that.
Yeah. So our starting points in our early times of thinking, which is now. Excuse me. Yeah, which is now.
Or rather yesterday. To be a bit more accurate. This is crazy. There are six questions here. I know, push it. I'm not taking you to
I like it already.
the format.
Yeah.
I'm a philosophical presenter.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Anytime.
Yeah, you are my friend.
For all time. Okay, let's stop. People have been complaining about this, by the way. People listen to the episodes and they're like, you know that half of it is just you guys finding out over it. Get used to it, right? It's not a problem, is it? It's also a philosophy.
Yeah. Maybe we can all be friends like that. Yeah. So, what we begin to do is we begin to work extremely hard to, like I said, vibrate at a higher frequency in order to build a reality that we more understand than this reality, the general reality that we don't understand. For example, instead of living in the wild, all right, you build a perimeter. Instead of sleeping in the open, right, you build just a perimeter, all right, so that you are not in the general reality where anything can happen. You limit the number of things that can happen, right? So a perimeter there, and then you realize not enough, just this fence. I think I need a roof over it. You are a reality in your immediate environment that you more understand. So by the end of the day, what you would have built is a house, and that house is meant to make you feel safe. Because as we sit here, you know what is upstairs, you know what is downstairs, you know what is happening in the kitchen. Somehow you've got information. So you have built a reality for yourself that you are comfortable and more confident in because you know everything about it. It's how uncomfortable we feel when we visit other people's homes. You know,
how uncomfortable you feel when you suspect that there's somebody else with you in your house.
Exactly. Your reality becomes way too open.
When you come home and the door is open.
You know, it's like even within the solar system itself, you know, it creates perimeters. That Earth itself is a perimeter for life, because if there was no Earth the way that it is, the sunlight itself would just be hitting us, and we would all be dying of radiation. But a perimeter is somewhat created to build an internal environment that consciousness can basically thrive in.
Life can thrive.
Yes, life itself can thrive. So we have been at this particular process of converting this general reality into specific reality that we have an understanding. For example, again, we go as far as building technology and tools. This is in the efforts of bending and controlling reality itself, that you feel much more safer and comfortable, and you can smell longevity. Or you build yourself a defense system weapons of mass destruction, but these are my defenses, because I'm just trying to build a perimeter, where we can feel safe. Yes, and so we go on building these perimeters. So it means
it would
that
be crazy to build weapons of mass destruction as a defense system for just your perimeter.
And that is what it is, because they always think it's a long time nuclear, but it's not like we're just going to wake up one day and
that's
strike
how
you.
necessary war is.
Yes, but you realize that but what kind of defense is this? It looks like it's attacking. So are you saying you're going to attack us any given day? Oh, now I see. You are intimidating us. You want us to feel this way, that you can just wake up today if you're not in the mood and come whip us down. So maybe we better be in check. Maybe we better be more respectful. Maybe we better make sure that you are happy. So whatever you want, you ask of us, we'll do. Because you can kill us.
Yeah.
So it's not defense, it's intimidation.
Yeah, it's strong arming. Sorry, my mind is jumping all over the place. We didn't record last week, right?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, that's why I'm my brain is just bubbling because
there's an empty spot.
Yeah, there's an empty spot somewhere.
We'll fill it.
I don't know if you have caught up with this season of Rick and Morty.
I've only watched 2 episodes.
This would be a spoiler.
I haven't. Yeah, so
I'm trying not to
leave me.
Anyway, there's a moment at which one of the characters finds a machine that's one of the most devastating machines. So there's a fight going on, and after the fight, in the confusion, this guy goes there, downloads the schematics for the machine, and walks into the room. Now the person he has been fighting with they just teamed up for this moment. Otherwise we're enemies and we hate each other. And so the other guy asks him, why don't you just use that weapon? You've got it now. You wanted it your whole life. Why don't you just use it? And his answer was interesting. He says, you can't use a weapon like this without there being repercussions. You know what I mean? He was like, I'm just taking it to let you know that I have it.
I have it.
And I will destroy everything you love if you keep coming for me. I do not want to use this thing. And that is the difference between you and me. You know what I mean? That's what he was saying. It's you want this for other means. If you had this, you would destroy me. I'm just taking it for safekeeping. But don't come looking for me because I will destroy everything. It was I thought about how war is like this. I've got this. You've got that scenario.
I guess that's why sometimes these very powerful countries do not get very smart leaders.
I mean, if we're being fair, very few countries get smart. If we're being fair, it's not their fault. It's the process in which we're finding leaders out of society that's flawed.
Of course.
Imagine if we had a similar process to NASA, how they filter minds to go into these MITs. Imagine if we had a similar process for leadership. You know what I mean? Modern football, guys, 5 years. They're just moving and shaking the society, inventing new systems of governance. Whoever comes up with the most profitable, best thing for his people, that will be the president. Imagine if it was like that. They announced it like the Olympics. This year's president.
Best country in the world.
And he runs the thing. That guy was a good president. When he brought equality.
But you see, to highlight that, funny and brilliantly so, is to then ask yourselves the question of why we don't do some of these things. Why are we so only particularly intelligent? Let's say, for example, science. The way we science things, we don't do this anywhere else, my guy. Let's be honest. The way we science, we don't do this anywhere else. to build artificial intelligence. To build artificial intelligence, a machine that basically simulates you. It's not biological, it's mechanical. It's a digital machine. But to go that far and make something like that, to science shit, we don't do this anywhere else. And the reason why we don't do this anywhere else is I have heard it now. It is called them, they. The scientists have not.
It's never us.
It's never us. You know, we forget the job that we have, but it's because in trying to understand reality, we chose to collectively understand reality on a simple basis, which is mind limiting. That in going into the history of existence, we couldn't reach a beginning. So we ended at devising what we call a God.
Went back at religion.
Yes, but when we were just passing through, it's a valley. Religion is valley. You gotta pass through on your way to, Jerusalem. And so we built this idea, and it then turned all of us to think that reality is only in one sense, and that is the sense of God. That is the sense of there being a creator who just snaps fingers, because we do not understand how things just basically come to rise.
You know what's crazy about that? To create a thing that becomes so big that you forget that you created it. That for me is the craziest thing about religion. Like, this was a group of people who are like, all right, listen, we're gonna do this like this, okay guys? We need control over these people, let's make this. And then 100 years later, people are like, no, listen. You know what I mean?
Let's not stop over religion for too long.
Yeah,
it was just a bad WhatsApp type of it.
It's an interesting bad.
Yeah.
I can't help but look out the window.
No. Let's come out now. No. On the other end. That then speaks to the question that you asked me. And I went through the creation of perimeters to convert reality into something that is more familiar. Inventing a God is creating a reality that is more familiar. And so therefore we describe this God as protective. Right? That out of the unmentionable elements of the universe that can end me in a second, I must be existing in a protection perimeter somewhere, somehow. So I can't science this because it seems too difficult to. Therefore, let me just put a full stop there at the end. But let's begin from there. There is a...
And the beginning.
Yes. So there. We find ourselves... we find ourselves then limiting our understanding of reality because we then begin to understand it from those perspectives. From the perspective of there being a God, and therefore this is how I understand reality. But you do not understand that understanding becomes limited because it wants to owe everything to this idea that you've put here. So kill that idea, all right, and begin to work from generalities, as reality is in general difficult to understand. But the way to understand it would have to be practical by knowing exactly where you are standing. Am I standing on soil, ground? What's happening here, sir?
It's a phone. Don't fear. Fear not, sir. Hello. What do you do, mate? I'm easy, my guy. You can swing, right? Alright. No. I'm a poor man today. Alright. Those are the guys who I talk to in the morning when I go to Open Town.
No, wonderful.
You know, it's me Opens Town.
Even when we left last time in Lusaka, I had to tell my friend to inform the mayor that I will not be coming back to Lusaka tonight.
But it's new switches.
Yeah.
You know, I don't go switch on the robot. Would you think switches on the traffic light?
Of course.
Guiding battery power. Anyway, back to the podcast.
So then back to the question, just to recontextualize.
Yeah, why do people wait, what was the question again? Do human beings need some agency over the world around them for their lives to have some sense of purpose?
So we understand.
They do.
I believe that now we kind of understand that the question is not so much a question but more of a statement.
I mean, so that's the question. So your answer is yes. All right.
You know, but we need to be very careful in how we create this sense of agency to understand reality. That we must be mindful of lazy people, yes, and be very careful with those people that do not want to move forward and be helpful. Work hard with everybody else. Those people you must be a bit more careful because they will have excuses, and those excuses will turn into fairy tales.
Yeah.
You know? And that's how we birthed the fairy tale of gods. That it had to devolve.
It just created a very terrible. It just created a very terrible situation in my mind. I thought like back in the day, I created a scenario where back in the day, the kings of that time sent out the great minds and said, "Can you go and explain what this is? Can you go and find the answers?" And the guys went out and they were given, say, a year. And this entire year, they just fucked around, abused resources, got drunk.
Yeah.
And on the last day, right, they were like, yo, we have to come up with a plan because they're all right, I got one. How about? And we move away again.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's what
brilliant way to, you know,
because you're talking about laziness.
Yeah,
those guys who are asked to describe this. Because I don't think it was the king himself going out looking for answers. He had wise men. So one of those guys just performed. They came back with the story of their life. So there was a garden.
We found a burning bush.
There was a garden, right? And this garden, like, there was nothing in it, right? And this guy, like, put the guy in there, and then he took his rib, right? Reached into his rib. And by the way, this guy was molded from soil. Took his rib, somehow soil became DNA and all these complex muscle structures, which also came from the Cambrian explosion. But we'll explain that somehow. Don't worry, it's
those guys over there. Because the others went to study reality, you know. They went and built laboratories where they test these things.
This, as I'm telling you this story, you must understand that there will be people who will come and tell you that I'm lying. Those people, we even have a name for them. They are called atheists.
Never listen to those, you know, to those people, and you know, it's such a shame that I would choose to base my life on non-concrete things. And I like the fact that nobody bases their lives on non-concrete things. They only run across them in their subconscious and affects them. They only come across them when they run into trouble, fear. But on any given day, to practically function, we are all just living in this open reality where it is
on a
what
spinning
it is.
rock.
Yes, it's not lying. You know, reality is not out to get you. It's not lying to you. It's not trying to deceive you or anything like that. It's got no intention. You know, because you are about irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, you are about insignificant if you are to zoom out of this very small reality that we have created as a safe haven to understand, which is the planet Earth and the sun.
Yeah.
That is the heavens, very nearby, you know. So we are trying to basically expand outward. That's why we sent even a probe. It's gone out.
Oh, it has passed Pluto?
Yes, it has passed Pluto. It's gone out. You know, it's gone out.
Yeah.
That's us trying to, not them, they. That's us trying to better understand and grow the perimeter of reality that we can be more comfortable with. That is what you call colonization. Yes. That is what you call colonization. So colonization sometimes is quite brutal as you go into new territories because you are the explorer, you know, and you're trying to make that foreign land become more palatable to you. So you have to convert it sometimes with force. Colonization.
The other day, you know, one of the, sorry to pass by the value of religion, just passing by.
You know my body's young.
Just with that purpose thing, right? And how it's obvious human beings need it, right? And one of the greatest purposes that you can be given is that you exist to praise something greater than yourself, you know. And I admire, envy the solace that religious people have in that. I'm actually envious of it. It's part of the reason that I usually argue with them. You know, it's out of jealousy. Why are you so comfortable in this harsh environment we're in? But
the answer to that may be in the previous discussion about the freest people in the world. Remember? Yes. Because everything is postponed.
Yes.
Everything is externalized. You have created storage systems, you know, for good things and bad things.
Yes.
So good things, you store them in the God container. Bad things, you store them in the devil container. And that's how you basically
questionable
exist.
things, you store them in the human container.
I'm not perfect. But you've created these two perfect things, you know, one perfect evil thing. Yes, one perfect evil. Because, you know, there's no one who's bigger than or greater than Satan.
There's nobody more
more evil than Satan.
Yeah.
There's nobody. That's your ultimate waribanga.
When that nigga shows up at the evil meeting, everybody gets quiet.
You can even find this guy eating babies, bambari. Oh my God, what is this? But he will still not be the devil.
So I was saying, I envy that about religious people, that sort of, I would like to say, calm that it brings them, you know, because life is haphazard.
Yeah.
And if you believe that all these haphazard events are happening in your favor somehow, you know, it kind of calms you down.
You are in a house and it's raining. You are in your house and it's raining.
You're fine, you know. You're fine. He got you. Yeah. I admire that, because on the other side, in the world of what we call non-believers, right? There's a lot of uncertainty. You know what I mean? You see it without the veil. It's like, oh, you mean nobody's driving this, you know? And I've always wondered like how to find that in that side, and recently I have been finding it, right? And I have found beauty in life on earth, right? Without subscribing to any religious ideologies. I find the beauty in life on earth being, this is the only place where this could have happened. You know what I mean? Like, we're just in the exact spot where we're far enough from the sun to not be burned, to be able to sustain life, to have a cloud of gas around us.
That's how that can happen in this instance.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the beauty, that we are here, that when that happened. You see that randomness you're talking about? You know what I mean? Like, because that it's an eventuality that can happen, right? And we're here. In that eventuality that happened.
Those are not things to wonder about. And
that's a dangerous thing to say to a philosopher. What do you mean?
Hold on.
What do you mean?
The obvious things must remain obvious to you. You specifically, as Victor Murigisa, with your intelligence and how easily you understand things. The obvious should remain the obvious and not to be treated as a conundrum.
What's the obvious?
The more critical thing in comparison to religious freedom, out of creating a God directly to you, should be out of understanding of the fact that you are the person that is conscious all the time. You are the one that is everywhere you are. You are the one that knows everything about you.
Agreed.
Yes. And therefore, you are the only person that you can fear the most.
Agreed.
That if you became honest with yourself, that would be quite some harsh judgment.
Agreed.
So therefore, how do you navigate this plane? Because this is the plane that the religious people navigate. Not wanting to be accountable to yourself. Because you understand exactly all of the evil that you have done, or all of the good that you have done. Such that you have to transfer this power of knowing yourself completely to a God. Therefore, it means that you become a little bit less responsible for some things.
When am I transferring that to?
No. I'm not in objection.
I'm confused.
Follow. Don't listen with me. I don't disagree. I just add on.
You started your statement like you shouldn't be thinking like that.
Don't worry. I want you to listen. I want you to just kind of
because I agree with everything you're saying. So I'm confused in where the conflict is.
There's no conflict. Okay. So I'm just trying to take you on a journey that is more relatable to religion. Because where they have placed a God is at themselves. Right? At themselves of commission, and not having the ability to sit yourself down and be honest. Because you completely know that you are but you will be there within yourself debating. Because there are people that are debating, but you know completely exactly what happened. But there are people in your head who are trying to confuse you and convince you that that is not exactly what happened. Yeah. So you now become kind of skewed in your understanding of self at the very same time, because there's just so many voices going on in your head. Religion, in trying to build normality for the mind, basically created this idea of that very harsh, judgmental person that knows everything about you, which is yourself. You transfer that power to a God. So you, as a non-believer, to whom do you transfer the power? You transfer the power to yourself, which you rightly said. So if you transfer the right to that power to yourself, how are you able to handle that power?
Question one.
And that's what you begin to explore.
Question one. What am I transferring to myself in this analogy?
Let's say, for example, you are given a job, all right? and then you don't do that job very well. And then the results come out, and then you argue with the results, or you argue with the client.
Okay. I don't know if you understood my question. I'm asking because you said I'm transferring that power that the Christians accredit to a God, right? I'm transferring it to myself. Now, the way you are describing Christians giving that power to a God, I don't think I'm giving that to myself in me trying to seek happiness, like trying to find another thing that would make me happy. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, the question in particular here was finding solace in life, right? Because when you come out of religion, it's just this black thing. You know what I mean? It's just these random particles, and everything is random, and everything is an explosion that's just going wider, right? And you're like, wow, what's the point of all this consciousness? Where do people find their center in here, right? I chose to find the happiness in it, that this could have only happened here. And that's what I was trying to explain. Like, there's a way to look at it, like, it doesn't have to be special because a God made it. You know what I mean? It can also be special because there's nowhere else this could have happened.
And that's my point, that it is quite straightforward and obvious that this can only happen here, because here is the only here that we know. You know, so there would be no further need to go there. But there would be further need to just come back to yourself into reality and say, oh, this is what then has eventually happened. So it means that I am the person that is responsible. You know, that I must be honest with myself to be able to sit down and describe reality as I see it and as I act in it, and be fair in the judgment. I cannot keep on listening to the voices in my head that debate, you know, within themselves, say, no, and then eventually my reality becomes skewed, such that I am not able to change certain things in my life because there's just so much constant debate refusing the reality that is before me. You know, I keep on convincing myself otherwise, not learning the right lessons in life. You know, eventually when something happens to you, it repeats itself, you know, and you think you're learning a different lesson, but it's just the same lesson, you just missed it the first time, you know. But because you've not been honest enough with yourself, you convinced yourself otherwise. You refuse to see. When the God in you showed you to someone, aftermath, you know, the after effects. The after effects. You know, oh, I'm in kitchen, door open.
Excuse me. Could it be possible that the universe doesn't exist?
Yes. There's no way to disprove that.
Then what's this?
So this is not being philosophical.
Right?
This is not being philosophical. Is a generation of the two. That is reality and realism. Reality is what we know. Reality is the thing that humbles us as we try to go out of it and describe other things, right, that do not happen in it. Reality strikes back and kind of humbles us. It is what we are able to observe. It is what we are able to sense with our five senses. It is what we exist in. This is reality. Realism is the happening of reality, or the way reality actually is. without your observation, which is limited, it can be doubted. We do not know the capacity of the human mind. Not that we use 20% of the brain, therefore we do not understand the universe. That maybe even if we manage to reach 100% usage of the brain, because it's not the best thing that exists, obviously, in the universe or out of all of existence, it could be marvelous.
You don't think the brain is the best thing that exists in our reality?
Simply because it is what exposes us to reality, and it is the one that is responsible for having us experience reality as we do.
My brain just did it.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying you don't think it was in reality.
Yeah. So it would be quite hard to prove it as the best thing, because ultimately what it is the God itself.
It's Jesus.
Yeah, it's the God itself. If you ever wanted to imagine
an episode where we definitely do not mention religion. I swear we need to do one, because I'm tired. It's
but you must know that I am simply passing through.
Yes.
The valleys are made.
We need to stop coming to this neighborhood. No, I don't like this neighborhood. It's not safe.
You need to change.
Every time we pass this neighborhood, we have to roll up the windows, lock the car. I don't want to pass. No.
No,
it's not safe. I don't know why you keep bringing us to this neighborhood. No. Let's go to the suburbs. Philosophy.
But it's nice that we're living in better times, so to speak, because as Zambians, you can imagine, we have the liberty to have these conversations. Back in the day, there'd be people knocking, on our door. So
I mean, I still believe that we're not so far away from that.
It's interesting, But back to what we were talking about.
Could it be possible that the universe doesn't exist?
Yes, and this is the possibility, and this is why we went into the God Valley, because entering into the God Valley is you now to realize that your understanding of everything is by the capacity of your brain, whether by 20% usage or 100% usage. It will still not mean that you have completely understood reality. It will just grow bigger, because there's no way you can have something so big in a small container. You know what I mean? They take to become a company with 20 kgs muri into a container akakabutizak. It can't fit. It can't be a container. So to say that the brain is the most marvelous thing that obviously exists in the universe would be to suggest that it is actually bigger than the universe, and therefore the mathematics would not really be able to add up. If you are to be contained, it means that you are not bigger than the container.
Your explanation is a bit sketchy, right? You have jumped from me saying that the brain is the most marvelous thing to exist in the universe to it's the biggest. That's not what I'm saying.
No, what do you mean the biggest?
Like you use scale.
No. Scale is just an example.
I know. I would like to show a more accurate example.
Another accurate example would be the best thing that ever existed.
No, I'm saying the most.
Like the best thing that ever existed.
The most intriguing thing.
Not the most intriguing thing.
Okay.
Because if the container is that large to allow this one thing, what would be intriguing would be the container itself.
Scale.
Yeah. No.
I've got no problem with size. I'm saying the most intriguing. For instance, do you see a situation where in this large space there can be a small intriguing thing?
Yes.
I think that's more intriguing than the space. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, so in that particular case, I still would say no, because it is existing in a space, and in that space, it could. Yes. No. It's space, not size. Space is size. No, space is not size. Okay. Space is just area that accommodates size.
All right.
Yes. You see what I mean? So if space is area that accommodates size, the brain could be one of those those things. So in this space, there are many things. So the brain could possibly be one of those things. Like a soup, several interesting things. So still, what would be the most intriguing thing would be the container that has the capacity to store all of these things. All of these things.
Understand.
So the brain definitely can not go past anything that it's difficult to even have this conversation as though you are externalizing it, you know, and yet it is the brain itself, you know. You know? So your understanding of everything is very limited, you know, by the brain itself, you know, that you can only go as far as this can actually manage to, you know. So reality in general becomes very difficult to understand because you are just an element in this, and probably you only have a very small perimeter in which things are able to sustain themselves in this particular way.
The last time we met, did I tell you about a question I asked on social media about what's the difference between the brain and the mind?
Yes.
Okay. What are you looking for?
Product and machine.
Product and yes. As in the way I phrased it, I was going to say machine and product. That's my brain.
Yeah.
Why is it like that?
You know, but what is very interesting here is that the product is strange. You know, the fact that the product, out of identification of machine and product, that product can be explored, as the machine can also be explored. But the product is usually never explored, it's just consumed.
That's nice. That's nice. That is really nice. We're trying to explore the product, right? In recent history, as far back as the 80s, right? We have been saying, what is this product? You know, how does it operate? What is it made of? You know, this is why we're one of the most medicated organisms on this.
Yeah, because
no, now they do because of us.
What kind of life do you live?
So I'm a pet daddy. I have 2 cats, right? And I have very interesting philosophical arguments when I take them to the vet. All right. So recently we adopted a second cat, right? And this cat came off the street. And obviously, when you're getting pets, you have to worry about straight out of dumpster. And so we had to take it to the vet first before we can bring it to the house because diseases, etc. Right?
Responsible humans.
I mean, we're just trying not to die. You know what I mean? It's just for self-preservation, right?
It's not that complex.
So we take this thing to the vet and inject it with things that I can see that over the course of the day, the thing is drowsy. It has never experienced this before. I could see the thing was confused. It was like, what is this? What am I experiencing?
Guys,
it's back to normal now. But I'm like, is there a thing we're doing to animals? You know what I mean? By doing this, by trying to safeguard ourselves.
I mean, this is how I know, sir. The breeze was yes.
What I'm worried about is the door slamming.
I will be Superman and hold it.
Oh no! What do that? But in my door.
So as we conversate, I'll be also paying very much attention to the door and the wind.
We are very
wind speed,
wind barometer, everything. Motometer.
Boringo.
What were you saying?
But anyway, so that question is, I would break it down in this particular way, that there is reality that we are familiar with, and then there's reality that we are not familiar with, which is, realism. So our objective is to arrive at entering into a realm of realism and beginning to extrapolate from realism, because that's an even bigger container. But we are working to grow into controlling completely this reality until we can reach a point where we are able to enter into the realm of realism, which is independent of existence. It's some things that they portray in movies, like, for example, this Marvel Doctor Strange, type of stuff. You enter into this realm. This is a realm that is unknown. If you've been in it, you know it. You are a magician, But when someone enters into it, they are very unfamiliar, because this reality works independent of what they have been accustomed to. So it is kind of weird, and they are confused by it. So that is what we picture at a small scale, realism. And these are the realities that...
Would you like a second beer?
I just opened this, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm back at my opinion.
Okay, there's one in the fridge for you.
Oh, there's one in the fridge for me. Thank you very much, sir.
Anytime.
There's plenty BIA.
No, that's literally 4 beers.
It's a black table.
I was about to tell you.
My foot is on the crate.
The way that you are moderate with everything. You show up with 2 beers for our podcast. It's the most moderate. That's the most moderate shit I've ever experienced in my life. Like, this nigga is like, yo, I wanted to ask you when you came in. I was like, so what's the point of the beers for you? Because for me, the point is to get loose and you are like, no. I just want a please. So what's the point?
The bit point,
The midpoint?
The bit point. The bit point is the point. These are tools.
I'm curious about careful people.
Oh yeah.
I'm very, and my curiosity is not out of like I'm side-eyeing. My curiosity is out of the direct opposite of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm curious as to what motivates that. Because mine is very self-serving. My lack of care is for perceived enjoyment in the moment. You know what I mean? It's it's like, no, look, if I've had fun for these 4 hours being drunk, let's try 8 hours. You know what I mean? That must be twice the fun. I'm not bad at math.
For me, I will end up the 4 hours. Fun has been had.
You don't need to do the 4 hours. That's what I mean.
2 hours in the 4 hours.
You do like 10 minutes. You show up and you're like, look, guys, we're gonna have extreme fun for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, no more fun. Let's pack it up.
Pack it up and go.
Oh shit.
Yeah, no. Because it's a lot of work, my friend.
Yeah.
It is a lot of work to be in the company of people and to have fun. Yeah, and have fun. Like you are actually at work, And
that's your quote for today. It's a lot of work to have fun.
Yes.
Usually people, they isolate the two. You are like, no, you guys don't get it. Laughing is a job.
Sometimes it even amazes me.
When you find people having fun.
Yeah, like people who are even willing to go above and beyond, and have fun. Was at a funeral, and this girl comes through and powders her face. It's late now. Like, guys, we need to go and drink. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, 23, powdering yourself to go out. Isn't it? It amazes me when I come across,
Have you always been like this?
Sadly, sadly, yeah.
It's not sad. No, there's nothing sad about it. It is.
Well, yes, I have always.
Even like in your teens.
Yes.
23 hours. I totally relate to that.
Yeah.
Being outside beyond a certain time, I'm just like,
what's happening? You know, and what surprises me the most is you could be somewhere drinking, right? And the time is 21 or 22, and you are making plans to go to another place. Yeah, that kind of like surprised me, like, hey, you know, you guys have a lot of energy, eh? So from here, we have to get up, you know,
and then go.
And go somewhere and situate ourselves there and then start again, you know, there. It kind of takes me by surprise. Not that I frown, you know, upon it. It just takes by, because it's not me.
I fucking upon it.
It's just not me. And I noticed that, it's just not, don't worry, I got the
there's another question here. Why pursue happiness if it can be stripped from us by accidental events at any time? I prepared for you to do that.
It's because the question is phrased. The question is phrased with the misunderstanding of happiness and how it is achieved. And this is because in society, as people, we lie to each other in terms of what makes us happy. You know, you constantly have to pretend, you know, to show that this is what makes you happy. But you're just doing it for others. So when you run an analysis on how society works, you kind of deduce the wrong things from that play, because there is pretense that is happening. So happiness itself is therefore not very well understood, that we have seen it often from the rich people. That it is so confusing for a rich person to realize that he is unable to harness happiness still, because he's existing at a very high level in society, but he's realized that problems have not left him. You know,
He did it.
Exactly. Problems have not left you, you know, and we have this illusion, therefore, from how we play, that when you go out and you've got money, you kind of appear to be the happiest person because you are able to kind of entertain and spend and shanshaniko. So we are
able to look like what we describe as.
Yes, exactly. You know, while someone there at the bar is wondering, will I be able to afford another round here? You know, hey, bring me, in fact, bring 2 rounds here plus that table over there. You're like, this guy, he's got no problems at all. He's therefore very, very happy. But you realize that, hey, the reason why he's doing that is also because he's not happy. You know, he realizes that he's not able to reach at anything, even with money, because problems still affect him. It is the nature of reality itself, that happiness is something that is in the mix of reality, and you cannot consistently find it. Happiness is the way we are, the way we live. Happy on some chalo. Nangu tufwe, nangu tuchule, nangu tumfwe winona, nangu chibeshani, efo chabi fine, twaliba happiness yene. It's not something that you can attain in heaven. And I think that religious value, because that is the solution to happiness. It suggests that if you are looking for happiness, it is eternal bliss. But you see,
like ignore this place right now.
Yes, it's a place.
Oh my God.
You will go mad.
You will go mad with the happiness there.
But imagine
so happy.
But think of this place as being ultimately happy. You would not understand happiness or no happiness, because it is only one thing. One thing is not known. It is known. Everything is known in relation to another.
Yeah.
So you know that you are happy because you know what sadness, the opposite of happiness, is. So to enter into a perpetual place of no opposites, you would not survive. That would be a prison. You would not know anything because everything has to be compared to something for you to be able to establish a comfort zone.
One of the questions here is: Are all thoughts anthropomorphic? All right, and I think you just stumbled on that.
Yes,
these are just descriptions for states of being. You call it happy, you know what I mean, and you call it sad. For a certain reaction to things. That's it.
So this is why you will find that today you will experience happiness, tomorrow you will not. You must have an appreciation therefore for happiness when you are not experiencing it. Once it comes around again, Muntuandi, grab it and enjoy the happiness, because the opposite of that is sadness. And definitely it's going to come. Why? Because reality can only sustain itself in that way. That if you are to know anything, you have to understand left and right. Otherwise, you are not situated nor located.
I'm terrible at comforting my friends because my statements of comfort are very nihilistic. You know what I mean? Like somebody once recently came to me suffering a heartbreak, and my comfort to them was like, listen, man, this is the nature of life. Terrible things are going to happen, and it will get better. And then terrible things are going to happen again, and it will get better. So just look forward to when it gets better. Because statistically speaking, in a couple of weeks, you're going to feel very good about yourself. You know what I mean? So like that's the only comfort I have for you. I don't know how to bring her back, bro. You know what I mean? But I know that somehow in this randomness, you will be fine if you just stick around and live life.
So you basically have a general understanding of what happens, outcomes.
Yeah.
So the interest there that one can have is, if you are to say that that is the general play of this reality, that you're going to experience happiness and you're going to experience sadness, you must realize then that to live is to work, and therefore you must employ yourself to intentionally do things that supposedly make you happy, and find yourself in a place where you are able to happily engineer your life. To understand that this outcome can actually be controlled. It should not happen to me randomly. I must safeguard my reality. What must I try to maintain? Is it a mixture of sadness and happiness? Or maybe I should thrive more on happiness and expect that sadness will happen, but it shouldn't be way too often. Unless nature itself just wills it.
Interesting point you bring up there, because my next question to you is going to be, what does Nietzsche say and mean when he says all things life are unavoidably tragic?
It's the end of life.
So what, from what you have been saying,
tragedy is the end of life. Tragedy is the happening of
happiness.
The tragedy is we just go down to the nitty-gritties.
Okay.
Yes, the nitty-gritties of what makes you happy.
I'd like to vote for us to change that phrase.
The nitty-gritties.
Yeah, I think it can be, as a rapper, I believe in words and how they roll off
the
the tongue.
gibby-diddies.
I think
the gibby-diddies.
The jiggly titties.
The jiggly titties. Okay. So
would you rather say, let's get down to the jiggly titties?
Yeah, okay, then let's go that way. So I like to get down to the
jiggly titties.
Jiggly titties. So in the jiggly titties, you realize that there are things that you are eternally responsible for, and these are things that you must pay particular attention to. In order to have a more predictable tomorrow, which feels safe, which feels happy. You have one of those days where you look forward to certain things, Where you look forward to it tomorrow.
It's like today.
You look forward to and
You just get down to the jiggly.
So that's the jiggly titties. You focus on the reality around that. You will find that you will be a bit more intentional in the things that you do, and your tomorrow is a bit more predictable. And if your tomorrow is a bit more predictable, you can breathe today. You can think today. You can relax today, because rest is never in the future. You will never get it in the future. No. It will never come.
What about the people that say I'm asleep when I die?
Exactly. Because it's today. If you don't, create a chance for you to rest today, you're not gonna get it tomorrow, because not going to work is not rest. You're
not securing your rest.
As long as your mind has got things to think about, you can even go to the bush and see the birds. But still, it's not gonna be rest.
Yes, sir.
If Nakamba.
Another episode. What do you think we'll title this one?
Ooh, questions.
Questions.
Yes.
Wonderful. I was going to vote for Jiggly Titties.
Jiggly titties. Questions and jiggly titties.
No. Our audience will be like, you're clearly letting Krytic take too many liberties with this podcast. We'll leave it at question.
Question.
We'll put the Jiggly Titties on the t-shirts.
It was 3 questions, yeah?
It was 4.
4?
It was actually 5. I mixed them up.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
As you know, I'm a philosopher and professor.
Oh, yeah. Moto Aquaris.